This is Doug DeMuro, and today we're going to talk about Tesla car values and why they have dropped like crazy over the last couple months. A lot of people have been asking me about this. What is the deal with Tesla prices? Why are they dropping so fast? So I figured I'd make a video. Let's talk about it. Before I get started, be sure to check out Cars and Bids, which is my enthusiast car auction website for cool cars from the modern era with free listings. You can list your cool car for free and auction it on Cars and Bids. And we've had some fantastic sales recently, including this wonderful Mercedes E63 AMG wagon, which sold for just under $41,000. This amazing FD Mazda RX-7, which sold for just under $34,000. And this great Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat, which brought $80,000. If you're looking to buy or sell a cool enthusiast car from the modern era, Cars and Bids is the place to do it with daily auctions, free listings, and great selection. Check it out at carsandbids.com. Okay, so Tesla values are dropping. Now, I want to make it clear from the outset, I am not talking about Tesla's stock price. That is a different conversation, a different video, a different genre of videos. I'm just talking about the value of Tesla's cars. The used cars have been sinking like a stone over the last couple of months, 3 to 5 months. Almost crazily fast. As an example, on Cars and Bids, we sell a lot of Teslas. We sold a month ago a 2021 Model 3 Performance with 27,000 miles for $57,000. A couple of days ago, we had a 2022 Model 3 Performance with 3,700 miles and bidding stopped at $48,250. In other words, that car is a year newer with 24,000 fewer miles and bidding was $8,000 less than the similar car a month earlier that was actually not as good, that was both older and higher mileage. And that's not uncommon. That result wasn't some weird outlier. That's what we're seeing with Tesla prices. They are, use the adjective you want, cratering, sinking, falling off a cliff, all of it. Tesla prices are absolutely shooting down. Now, I could give you several examples like this from Cars and Bids, but it's not just me. The mainstream press has gotten word of this, not just car press, and a lot of different sites have covered the drops in Tesla values. Here's why Tesla values are dropping so fast. Oh, Tesla prices are declining, Tesla demand is declining, all that stuff. This is a phenomenon that is getting noticed all throughout the industry, both the car industry and sort of the general business community. So why? Why are Tesla values dropping so fast? To me, I think there's 4 big reasons, and I'm going to go through them. Number 1 is unquestionably the recent developments with Elon Musk, who obviously runs Tesla. A lot of people are attributing this decline in Tesla prices solely to this factor. I think it's more of a small factor. I think it's a factor, to be clear. I think the whole Elon Musk situation with the Twitter purchase and then a lot of his public behavior since then and leading up to then has definitely had an impact on his public perception. And I'm not sure if he's yet aware of that based on who he surrounds himself with, but the general public has sort of shifted their opinions in a large way about Elon Musk. I think before the last few months, he was considered like this genius who had all these grand ideas and was going to space and solving the EV problem, and it was all amazing. And then the Twitter thing has kind of shown maybe he's not as much of a genius as we all thought. And I think a lot of people who looked up to him and really admired him are maybe starting to get their realities shaken a little bit. And I think that does have some effect on the desirability of Tesla's vehicles. Elon and Tesla are basically inextricably linked. And so if you like really love him and admire him and look up to him, you want to buy the car from his company. And when maybe some of those people who admire him start to decline, maybe fewer of those people buy the cars. And then there's the politics aspect of it as well. I don't really get political on this channel, but I think it's pretty obvious. Most of the people who buy electric cars are on the liberal side of the political spectrum, and Elon Musk has clearly positioned himself on the conservative side of the political spectrum. And the result of that is, you know, some of the stuff that he says has kind of alienated some of the potential buyers of his cars as well. I've talked to several people over the last few months, just purely anecdotally, who are looking for a new electric car, who specifically told me they're not interested in a Tesla because of Elon, and kind of his behavior. Now, again, I want to make it clear, I really don't think this is a major factor. I think if you love Tesla and their products, you're going to buy one anyway. I think there are other bigger factors that have slowed down Tesla demand than this, which I'll cover in a second. But I do think the Elon thing has unquestionably played at least a part. I think the media wants to sell it as this story of like, Elon has gone crazy and nobody wants the cars anymore. It's not that simple, but it's a factor. So what are the other factors? To me, the single largest factor that has contributed to this decline in Tesla car prices is the raise in interest rates. Now, the rise in interest rates has contributed to a general economic decline. So that was always going to have an effect on the price, the sale of cars, the sale of any goods, frankly. And so Tesla was going to be included in that, just like every other brand. So there's already a general economic decline component to this. But then you add in another interesting thing, which I don't think I really realized until the last couple of months. An enormous number of Tesla's customers are disproportionately affected by the rise in interest rates. And by this, what I mean is, a large portion of them are loan officers, mortgage lenders, work at some sort of bank lending industry, real estate agents, realtors. A large portion of Tesla drivers had jobs that were directly affected by the rise in interest rates. Me and you, we're affected by rising interest rates because borrowing gets more expensive. But if you're in a field where lending is your main source of income, the rise in interest rates actually directly affects your income. It doesn't just make it cheaper to buy goods, it actually slows down the money that you're earning. And a large number of Tesla buyers, especially when they submit cars to Cars and Bids, I discover are mortgage brokers or realtors, that sort of thing, and those people have been disproportionately hit and now have to get out of these cars, or just don't want the payment anymore. Their income can't support it, and they're just like ready to move it on and take a loss in some cases. In addition to that, the people in the Tesla world who aren't the mortgage brokers, the mortgage lenders, the realtors, I think a lot of Tesla buyers are sort of younger, kind of new money people, a lot of times tech people, for whom the rise in interest rates has a big effect. They look at getting a Tesla and they think about how they can fit it into their monthly budget, as opposed to paying for a car with cash or buying something cheaper. I think it's a lot of kind of younger people who don't necessarily have significant cash reserves who are stretching a little bit to buy this cool product, this Tesla. And so a rise in interest rates and car loans go from 2% to 6%, suddenly that Tesla simply doesn't look as attractive anymore. You pair that with the fact that some of these younger people are not only stretching their finances, but if they're in the tech industry, maybe their job isn't as secure as it was 6 months ago, working for obviously Twitter, but all of the Bay Area tech companies, Google, Amazon, Seattle, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of these companies are doing some significant layoffs. And so when you consider that, you consider, okay, these are the people who were buying Teslas. It's the mortgage lenders who are getting killed when the interest rates go up, nobody's buying homes. And then it's these kind of young new money tech people who are affected by the rates pretty severely. And I think that more than anything has been the biggest factor in the decline in Tesla prices over the last 3 months. Elon, again, has a factor, but I think that this stuff has a much larger factor. I think this raise in interest rates really hit Tesla hard because of the specific type of people buying the cars. Now, there are a couple of other minor factors as well that I also think continue to contribute to the decline in the Tesla used car prices. Number one is the disappearance of the waiting list. So over the last 2 years, vehicles have been tremendously difficult to come by because there have been production shortages that started when COVID hit 3 years ago. That has led to a lot of pent-up demand for new cars. And in Tesla's world, what that led to was an extremely long waiting list. So if you wanted to buy a Model Y, there was a period where there was like 6 to 8 month waiting lists on a Model Y, which meant you could either wait 6 to 8 months or you could buy a used one, but the used one was actually going to cost more than a new one because there was no waiting. So what people were doing was they were buying a Model Y, and then they would turn around and sell it 2 months later and make a profit, which is not a realistic thing in the used car world to last, but some people did it and made some money that way. Or they bought the car, drove it for a year, sold it, and sold it for what they originally paid, and they came out okay. And so that was going on because of this waiting list. However, the waiting list is gone. There's really no wait for a lot of Tesla products now. And in fact, they're starting to offer incentives or just cut new car prices. And the result of that is, with no waiting list putting pressure on used car prices are free to fall. And so this is obviously tied in with the thing I just mentioned regarding interest rates and demand. But as interest rates have risen and demand has fallen, the Tesla waiting list has fallen or basically disappeared as well. And that has really put downward pressure on used car prices. Again, a year ago, you could buy one and flip one for 10 grand more than you paid. It is not the situation today because there's no long waiting list of people who are willing to pay extra to get one early. You don't have to pay extra to get one early. You can go and buy one today if that's what you really want to do with no upcharge. And so that has also contributed to this kind of extreme slowing of what these Teslas are worth. And finally, the last thing that nobody's really talking about all that much, surprisingly to me, in terms of declining Tesla prices is increased competition. I think that, Elon being a little crazy has had an effect, and the interest rates have had a huge effect, and the waiting list has had an effect as well, but increased competition is really, really starting to nip at the heels of Tesla. For a long time, Tesla enthusiasts would pretty much be able to carry a high and mighty attitude about their favorite brand because the cars were just better. And car enthusiasts didn't want to admit it, but Tesla had better autopilot, better technology, better pricing, better range, better performance, and the supercharging network. That's not true anymore. Almost none of that stuff is actually a Tesla advantage any longer. Tesla now has rapidly aging cars that are really starting to look old. Model S is 10 years old. The design is not fresh and cool. The technology has pretty much all been caught up to. Tesla's autopilot, like hands-off steering, braking, accelerating, has been equaled by basically every other automaker. And some automakers do it even better than Tesla. And it's now trickling down into pretty inexpensive cars, frankly. It's not like you have to get some crazy luxury car to get it anymore. Toyotas, Fords, they all kind of offer this now, and Tesla doesn't have a big advantage there. The giant center screen has been replicated by so many other brands. The EV range and performance has been replicated by so many other brands. And again, aside from supercharging, there's not a massive advantage to Tesla. And it seems like they've slowed down in their innovation. Tesla had kept its competitors completely on their toes by rolling out Model S with this giant screen, and then the performance was crazy, and Model X came out, and the performance of that was crazy, and you could get 7 seats, and then the 3 comes out, and it's reasonably priced. It's like every new Tesla was like sent the competitors scrambling. That's not happening anymore. The last couple years, the only innovations I've seen out of Tesla have been like the yoke steering wheel. I mean, it's not, the Plaid was cool, really cool, but it's not like it was, where Tesla would just drop something and kill everybody. And that's especially proven by the Cybertruck, which isn't out, and everybody else is. So for once, the competitors beat Tesla to the punch, and not by a matter of weeks, but by a matter of years. So this has all kind of strewn itself into one pot and is being stirred around and is really having a negative effect on Tesla. You have people leaving because of Elon's rep and kind of the things that are coming out about him. You have the interest rates driving people out, the general economic uncertainty driving people out. You have this increased competition, and you have the diminishing of the wait list, and all of this has sort of shaken Tesla's status as the golden brand. And I mentioned I wouldn't really get into the stock price, but that is also reflecting the stuff that I'm saying here. People are starting to realize, hey, maybe Tesla isn't the golden god that we thought it was, that it has been, honestly, over the last 10 years, and things are maybe starting to reverse course a little bit. So the big question is, what does this mean? What exactly is coming next for Tesla? I'm not exactly sure. I'm curious to see how Cybertruck will do. I'm curious to see if Model 3 and Y and S continue to kind of soldier on. At the end of the day, again, these cars are old. They all kind of need to be redesigned. But I'll tell you what it means on the used market, and that is bargain priced Tesla. So when I'm setting reserves now on cars and bids for vehicles, a higher mileage 2018 Model 3 is now a mid $20,000 car. I gotta say, I've never been like a huge Tesla enthusiast. I think the cars are fantastic, and I think they're great like commuting appliances, if you will, but I've never been really an enthusiast. But at the $25,000 price point for a car with that level of tech and autopilot, etc., that becomes a pretty substantially desirable purchase. And you got to start thinking, if you can get a Model 3 for 22 grand or 19 grand, I mean, that's like Corolla money for a really desirable car, and we're not that far away from that. And so I do think that the prices aren't going to continue in free fall. There's going to be some floor somewhere where people look at this and say, this deal is too good to pass up. And I'm almost at that point myself. But at the end of the day, I think the crazy prices we've seen over the last 18 months for Teslas, they're gone. They certainly are not coming back. There's no question about that. I still get people submitting Teslas to Cars and Bids asking crazy reserves. I want to be like, and then we go back and forth for a few days. And I want to be like, dude, stop arguing with me. Get this car listed because it's worth like $1,000 less today than it was last week. Like, you got to get this thing going. But not everybody's ready to accept that yet. But it is really clear to me. And I think it's clear to the car industry and the business industry as well. And those are my thoughts on exactly why. And I guess we can all look forward to picking up cheap Teslas over the next couple of years.